The revelation of my spouse's infidelity struck me like a bolt from the blue, an utterly shattering moment that I had never anticipated. It was not just any affair, he had engaged in a romantic entanglement with someone I had considered not simply a friend, but a cherished confidant. The layers of betrayal were almost suffocating, and it seemed as though everything I had believed in had come crashing down in an instant. To make matters more complicated, this mutual friend was also the godmother to our 4 beloved children, weaving a tangled web of trust and disillusionment that left me feeling utterly lost. The heart-wrenching details emerged when I stumbled upon them in a deeply compromising situation at the end of our driveway, just after we had shared a family dinner. My mind raced with disbelief as I witnessed their intimate connection, a sight that shattered my already fragile sense of security. The laughter and warmth of our family gathering seemed to fade into the background, replaced by a cold reality I could scarcely comprehend. I felt my heart sinking, nearly crushed under the weight of this unexpected betrayal. Following that shocking discovery, his affair and my once close friend's initially secretive bond came to light in a way that felt both public and painfully intimate. Eventually, the depth of their relationship became undeniable, especially after her partner caught wind of their clandestine meetups. The fallout was swift and dramatic. She ended her relationship, and soon enough, my spouse and I discovered that things would never be the same again. It was as if a dam had burst, unleashing not just anger and anguish but a rush of emotions that left me reeling. In the wake of this revelation, my ex-spouse and I began to forge an unexpected alliance, a solidarity born not out of shared affection for one another, but rather from the raw pain we both endured. It was surreal sitting across from him in a cozy coffee shop, where the aroma of brewed beans mingled with the bittersweet taste of our shared experiences. Slowly but surely, we began to support one another through this maze of heartbreak. He would send me messages filled with encouragement, his words conveying a sincerity that reminded me that even in darkness, one could find flickers of light. Part of me instinctively wanted to embrace this new connection, to lean into the understanding we shared. It was a tumultuous journey, yet it also felt oddly comforting. As he embarked on the rocky road of re-entering the dating scene, I found myself feeling a wave of genuine happiness for him, perhaps a sign that healing was indeed within reach. Navigating the complex legal and custody challenges proved to be a taxing endeavor, yet somehow, he managed to agree to the terms I proposed, which centered primarily around custody arrangements. I now had custody of our children, and he had the opportunity to visit them on weekends, creating a dynamic that, while imperfect, was undeniably functional. Therapy became an integral part of our lives as we sought individual help to better cope with the fallout of our fractured family. While my former spouse displayed a desire to spend more time with our kids, we had collectively agreed upon a flexible system during school vacations. The children could choose whether to stay with him or return to my care, and I marveled at their ability to handle this new arrangement with a surprising level of maturity. They adapted quite well, alternating between visits at his place and their returning home to me, which spoke volumes about their resilience. In the midst of this turbulence, I consciously worked to limit my interactions with both my ex-spouse and our mutual friend. Even though part of me longed to revisit our past friendships, I recognized that the pain was still raw and that time was a necessary component of my healing journey. Each day was a step toward reclaiming my life as I focused on shedding the heavy influence of their betrayal. In an effort to embrace this new chapter, I made the bold decision to sell our family home and relocate closer to my family and friends. It was a leap into the unknown, but I did it with the hope of surrounding myself with a supportive network that could help me heal. This past year has been laden with challenges, yet I am incredibly grateful for the unwavering support I've received from my loved ones. They have been my rock, and the thought of facing this tumultuous journey alone is a notion I can hardly bear. Writing this account down brings a flood of tears to my eyes, an emotional release as I reflect on the strength provided by my family. I would not have managed to navigate the storm of uncertainty without their presence to steady me amid emotional chaos. As the days grow longer, I am discovering glimpses of happiness even while knowing that I am still very much a work in progress. My children and I have been determined to carve out joyous memories, engaging in little adventures whenever possible. Each trip we take serves to replace the painful echoes of our past with the laughter and joy of new experiences. I am committed to ensuring they remember the fun we had together, the smiles we shared over laughter, instead of the shadows of heartache that once clouded our home. Overall, despite the heavy heart I carry for all that has been lost, I find solace in the embrace of resilience and hope. The road ahead may be unmarked and filled with hurdles, but within me lies an unwavering determination to cultivate happiness and forge a brighter path for my children and myself. As I stepped forward to return some belongings she had left behind, an unsettling sight caught my eye. The glow of her car's headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating a scene that I never thought I would witness. My heart raced as panic surged through me. I found myself frozen in place, trapped between the overwhelming urge to confront them and the instinct to retreat into the shadows. In that moment of sheer shock, I chose the latter. The cold night air wrapped around me like a shroud, making it hard to think clearly, and I turned away, too stunned to utter a word. When my spouse returned home, I played the role of the unsuspecting partner masterfully, putting on a facade that everything was perfectly fine. Yet, inside, my thoughts were spiraling out of control. Sleep eluded me that night, slipping through my fingers like grains of sand. An intense curiosity mixed with dread tugged at me, compelling me to check his phone. When the screen lit up under my fingertips, what I uncovered sent a fresh wave of rage and heartbreak coursing through my veins. I found messages exchanged with her, stretching back over the last few years, all of them written under a clever alias. It was as if I were peeling back the layers of a deceitful onion, revealing rotten layers underneath. The knowledge that her own spouse was currently away for work, blissfully unaware of the duplicity unfolding back home, only deepened my feelings of betrayal. The weight of the anger, mixed with an unbearable sense of heartbreak, felt like a physical ache in my chest. Each moment that passed amplified the turmoil within me. I felt as though the ground beneath me had shifted, leaving me in a precarious state of uncertainty. I never expected to find myself spiraling into this emotional whirlwind. I resorted to updating my situation on an anonymous account, conveying my distress to a community of strangers who offered their support in ways I hadn't anticipated. This post meant everything to me, allowing me to share the torment I felt while still protecting my identity. I thought perhaps I could find some solace in the shared experiences of others who had walked a similar path. However, my location caused complications. I didn't reside in the US. Instead, I lived in a different country where the legal system mandated that couples must be separated for a minimum of a year before initiating the divorce process. As fate would have it, my ex-friend returned to our town on account of a family emergency, her arrival catching me completely off guard. I felt a magnetic pull to confront my spouse about this affair, yet simultaneously realized that I needed to create some distance for my own sanity. The betrayal had inflicted a wound so deep that the pain was almost tangible, morphing into a physical sensation. I replayed recollections of the times we all spent together. What moments had I missed? How could our families have been so oblivious to this duplicitous behavior? Time passed, but I found myself struggling to maintain any semblance of normality around my ex-friend. Each encounter felt like a minefield. I resorted to pretending that I was unwell, using it as a cover to avoid seeing her. It was an awkward excuse, but it allowed me a moment's respite from the gnawing discomfort of our strained interactions. During my spouse's absence, my sister-in-law had been an invaluable ally, assisting me in organizing and securing crucial documents that I would need as I navigated this daunting process. In the meantime, I had arranged for the children to stay with relatives, ensuring they were shielded from the chaotic storm brewing around us while I attempted to get my life in order. Speaking with a lawyer had become a priority, helping me lay the groundwork for what I hoped would be a clean separation. Every conversation with legal counsel brought a mix of anxiety and relief. It felt like taking the first steps toward reclaiming my independence, despite my heart still feeling brittle from the betrayal. Each day was a delicate dance of keeping up appearances while grappling with my internal turmoil. I felt the weight of this betrayal seep into my bones, a constant reminder of how trust had been shattered and how the lives we had built together were now hanging by threads. But as I pondered the future, I tried to grasp the light beyond this darkness, hoping to one day emerge stronger, even if the path ahead felt daunting and uncertain. I count myself lucky that a significant portion of our shared assets is in my name, which gives me a certain level of control over the situation. I have made the firm decision to ask him to leave once he returns from his trip. However, before I take that step, I feel an intense need to gather more evidence, to catch him in the act once again, ensuring that I have everything I need to move forward decisively. As the day of his return approached, I took the opportunity to meticulously organize all of our important documents during his absence. I found solace in arranging everything neatly, as it felt empowering to reclaim a sense of order amid the chaos. Personally, I have stored everything securely, and the children have been enjoying their time with relatives, far removed from the turmoil of our home life. In a show of preparation, I even packed his belongings into boxes and temporarily placed them in the garage, mentally steeling myself for the confrontation that loomed ahead. When he finally walked through the front door, I could instantly sense the tension in the air. Something was undeniably off. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken words, and he likely felt the change in my demeanor. I had allowed a wall to build between us, becoming increasingly distant and unresponsive to his texts. When he leaned in to kiss me, I turned my head away, almost instinctively, as a wave of resentment surged within me. I took a deep breath and stated plainly that I wanted a separation, my words hanging in the air like a thundercloud ready to burst. His reaction was one I had been anticipating, for it seemed he had an inkling of the storm that was about to break. When I pressed him about the affair, he sighed deeply and confessed that it had been unfolding for years. He revealed the truth of flirtatious exchanges that escalated into physical encounters, each revelation piercing my heart like a dagger. I felt a strange mix of bitterness and vindication at his admission. It seemed fitting, in a way, to finally confront the truth that had shadowed our relationship for so long. I insisted that he inform the woman's spouse, urging him that there was no longer any point in perpetuating the lies. I was tired of the webs of deceit and demanded transparency. As we navigated the awkward discussion about our children, I laid out my plans clearly. I told him he could see the kids, but only at their home, a firm boundary set in the sand. The thought of sharing custody felt excruciating. I craved full custody to protect myself from further heartache. What followed was a tense acknowledgement from him. He admitted his wrongdoings, his voice tinged with regret as he offered apologies that fell flat against the weight of my hurt. I felt the floodgates of my emotions burst open as I confronted him with the deep-seated anger I had been holding onto for years. The evenings spent in solitude, the countless sleepless nights wrestling with my thoughts, all came rushing back in that moment. I told him unequivocally to leave, making it clear that I never wanted to see his friend again, the very source of my anguish. This was not the confrontation I had envisioned in my mind's eye, a calm discussion leading to a clear resolution. Rather, it was an explosion of feelings that had built up like pressure in a boiling pot. In the harsh reality of our circumstances, I realized this moment was not merely the end of a relationship, but an emotional crucible, a shift that would redefine our lives forever. And now, with an unsettled heart, I made a vow to myself: I would not engage with either my former friend or my soon-to-be ex-husband for some time. The need to process my emotions loomed larger than my desire for immediate resolution. I understood that I needed space, a sanctuary to sift through the turmoil, to find clarity amidst the storm of betrayal and sorrow. The journey ahead would be difficult, but I felt a newfound strength beginning to emerge from within the depths of my hurt. I knew that, while the road to healing would be long and tumultuous, it was a path I was determined to walk on my own terms. If my story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more. I'd love to hear your advice on the steps I should take. Keep in touch for future stories.